What's up guys? It's Noah here. Today's video, I'm going to be breaking down the MLB slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Tuesday, August the 4th. We got a 10-game MLB main slate for Tuesday that we're going to talk through. We'll break down the player pool. I'll talk about the pitchers I have the most interest in today. Not going to hit on every single guy, just the guys that I feel like I'm going to be playing in my lineups, across all my lineups that I'm going to have the most exposure to. We'll look at Draftkings. Talk about some guys I like there. We'll hit on some guys on Yahoo as well. Just before we do get started, as always, I would appreciate it if you would hit that like button down below. I'm putting a lot of time into my videos right now and into this YouTube channel, uploading 2 videos a day, sometimes going to bed, at 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. Still have to wake up early as well because I have to work on my articles in the morning for Patreon. So I'm putting up a lot of content. I'm definitely, putting in the hours right now. You can consider this work or not. I don't really care, but it's something I enjoy doing. It's something I enjoy putting time into. The way you show your support, guys, just hit that like button. It does mean a lot to me. Hit the subscribe button as well. If you are new here, I do really appreciate it. All the new subscribers, like I said, uploading a ton of content, so would definitely appreciate it. If you hit that subscribe button, click the notification bell as well, so that way you don't miss out on any of my new uploads. You'll get notified every time I upload a new video, and you'll never miss out. So do all that. Check out the Patreon link down below. If you want to see more content from me, see all that I have to offer, other than just the videos I put out on YouTube, I do have stuff over on Patreon that you can check out, link down below. You can also give me a follow on Twitter. My Twitter is linked down below in the description as well. But let's go ahead and take a look at pitcher for this 10-game slate. So starting off at the top, Patrick Corbin is our only guy over 10K on Draftkings. He's 10-4 on DK. On Yahoo, they don't have him in the player pool. They have Max Scherzer as the probable pitcher, but it's actually going to be Corbin. So looking at Corbin on Yahoo, he's $51 over there. So I don't know if this is a slate where I'm going to be jamming in Patrick Corbin at the top. I don't think he's a bad play by any means. He looked really good in his first start against the Yankees. That was a really tough matchup, and he went out there and just mowed them down. Pitched 6 in the third inning, only gave up 2 hits, 1 run, got 8 strikeouts, finished with 27 Draftkings points in a tough spot against the Yankees. This isn't the best matchup against the Mets. The Mets do have a pretty good lineup. They have some guys questionable right now, though. Amed Rosario, Jeff McNeil, Robinson Cano are all listed as questionable just in the projected lineup. So we could definitely see a little bit weaker lineup than what we're used to from the Mets. But they still have guys like, Peter Alonso, high strikeout rate, but a ton of power against lefties. Michael Conforto, he's better against righties, but he still hits lefties well. Brian Dozier, a new addition to the Mets, a guy with a lot of power. Wilson Ramos has power. This Mets lineup, there's no easy outs in this lineup. They have a lot of guys that are just going to fight, put the ball in play, not strike out. So it's not the best spot for Corbin. A 4.4 implied run total for the Mets is also a little bit higher than I would like. I don't think I need to pay up for him on this slate. If you want to, or if you're playing multiple lineups and you want to get Corbin in there, I have no problem with that. If I'm just playing one lineup, though, I just don't think I'm going to be jamming in Corbin. I like some of these guys in the 8K range that we'll talk about, in the 7K range. And there's even some value today that I want to go to. And this is a slate where I think there's some really good expensive stacks. There's a Coors Field game again. Giants and Rockies in Coors Field. I think we got a 7.5 implied run total for the Rockies. Near 6 implied run total for the Giants. So we're going to want to get some exposure to that game. Some other teams in good spots as well that we're going to want to try and jam in. So don't really see myself paying up for Corbin. A guy like Lance Lynn could be interesting against Oakland. Lance Lynn's just been really good since he got moved to Texas. Was great last season, and he's been great so far this season through 2 starts against the Rockies and the D-backs. He's pitched 6 innings in both starts, has thrown 100-plus pitches in both starts, so, they're letting him go as deep as he can. Been very good with 31 and 27 Draftkings points through those 2 games. Now, this spot against Oakland, another spot that I don't love. Oakland, a pretty solid lineup, top to bottom. There aren't a ton of easy outs. You kind of have some easy outs with Sean Murphy and Tony Kemp, but there's definitely a lot of power here. There are some strikeouts here with Chris Davis who will strike out. I think Canha will strike out as well. Guys like Simeon Chapman will K a little bit, but those are 2 very good hitters overall. Oakland also a 4.2 implied run total, pretty low, but really good pitchers park here. Lance Lynn does have some good stuff, or has some stuff going for him today. At 9,900, though, again, I just don't know if I need to jam him in on this slate. I think there's other guys I'd like for cheaper. You got Lucas Giolito, who's in a tough spot against the Brewers, but this is a guy with elite strikeout upside. I know he struggled in his first start against the Twins. As you would expect, tough matchup. Bounced back, though, in a big way against Cleveland. Pitched 6 scoreless innings, only allowed 4 hits, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts, 21 DK points. last start against the Indians. I do like Giolito quite a bit. Honestly, I think in tournaments, playing him over someone like Lance Lynn makes a lot of sense. I think Lance Lynn actually might be one of the more popular pitchers today, especially when you look at his game log, seeing how well he's pitched this season. So a guy like Giolito could come in at low ownership, which I do like for tournaments. Max Fried as well, another guy that does have some upside, showed some good strikeout stuff last start against Tampa Bay, 7 Ks through 6 2/3 innings. Against the Blue Jays, again, it's like not the best spot. The Blue Jays do have some pretty good hitters, but there are some strikeouts in this lineup. Randall Grichuk's questionable, so if he were to miss, that's one of their guys that hits left-handed pitching pretty well. He will be out of the lineup. Still, we haven't got to my favorite play yet that we're going to talk about soon. But, even Brandon Woodruff, like another guy you could go to. Tough spot against the White Sox, a team with a lot of power, but also a team that does have strikeouts in its lineup. And Brandon Woodruff, another guy that's just looked great. He looked great against against Pirates. The Pirates his last start, 6 1/3 inning, only allowed 1 hit, 1 walk, 10 strikeouts. Like, this is a dude with pretty good K stuff. It's a matchup against a team that strikes out a lot, a team that also has a good amount of power, but the K upside is for sure there. So, these are all guys I think I could definitely consider in tournaments. But if we're just talking about like optimal plays, if I'm just playing one lineup, who I'm going to be going to, I think Andrew Heaney is going to be my SP1 if I'm only playing one lineup today. Love this spot for Andrew Heaney here against the Mariners. 8K I think is a little bit too cheap for this matchup as well. This is a matchup that he faced the Mariners in Seattle, or at home I believe. Yeah, at home in his last start. 5 innings pitched. Did allow 5 hits, 2 runs, 1 walk, got 6 strikeouts, finished with 15 Draftkings points. Not the best start from Heaney. I think we can definitely expect better here. I like him a lot on both sides. If we switch over to Yahoo and look at their pitcher pricing, you do have Andrew Heaney at $42, which I like quite a bit. Max Fried's $40, so I think he's pretty interesting there. Looking at some of the other pitcher pricing, though, there's no guys I've talked about yet that are over on Yahoo. Giolito you have, Lance Lynn. Lance Lynn pretty expensive on Yahoo, so I don't know if I'll get to him there. But Fried at 40 I like. Obviously Heaney at 42 I like. If we look at splits last season versus left-handed pitching, Seattle was a team that did strike out a good amount against lefties. 6th most in the league at 24.8%. They don't have the best lineup overall. Looking at their lineup for tomorrow, definitely a lineup, I'm not afraid to pick on. They do have some guys questionable as well, so could potentially even be a worse lineup than what we already see from them. Guys like Austin Nola, Kyle Lewis, Kyle Seager, these aren't guys I'm really worried about. Jose Moraleos, Shed Long, Vogelbach strikes out a ton against lefties. Malik Smith, just not hitters I'm scared of. Evan White's probably their best hitter, or Kyle Lewis probably their best hitter. But yeah, he's questionable, so he might not even be in the lineup. 3.8 implied run total, 5.3 implied run total for the Angels, so they're big favorites here, minus 190. Heaney has a lot of stuff going for him. I really like him in the spot. I think he makes a lot of sense at 8K, and he's one of my favorite pitchers on this slate. A dude with a really good strikeout stuff, can get a lot of swings and misses on his curveball. If you watch him pitch, this dude throws a curveball. It'll start at your eyeballs and end up in the dirt. It breaks just straight to the ground, and it gets a lot of chases. So love Heaney here at 8K. He's one of my favorite pitchers on this slate. But then other guys we could maybe go to. Kyle Hendricks is someone I never like playing, but he's 7,700 against the Royals, a pretty favorable matchup. He looked fantastic in his first start this season against the Brewers. Pitched a complete game shutout with 9 strikeouts. That's going to be the best game Kyle Hendricks is going to probably pitch, probably till he retires, honestly. But here against the Royals at 7,700, I do have some interest. Very good pitching conditions in Wrigley tomorrow. The wind's going to be blowing in, 69 degrees, so pretty favorable pitching temperatures. Not a ton of humidity, not going to be hot. We don't have run totals for this game yet, but if I had to guess, I would say the Royals probably come in with a run total under 4 maybe. Honestly, could be a little bit higher than that, but potentially under 4. At 7,700, Hendricks is another guy you could go to. This feels like a pitching slate where I don't want to take 2 big stands. I'll be pretty heavy on Andrew Heaney, but I want to mix and match a lot of the guys that I've talked about. Corbin, Lynn, you can throw those guys into a few lineups. But Giolito, Woodruff, Hendricks, we're going to talk about Dustin May, who I like. You got some value down here we'll talk about. Just a lot of pitchers that I think are viable today. Dustin May, definitely one of them, so I like him a lot here at 7,500 against the Padres. Also like him a lot on Yahoo. He is very cheap over on Yahoo. He's only $35 over here. He's actually one of the more expensive, or one of the more cheaper pitchers over on Yahoo. So looks like a very good play over there. Really favorable matchup here in terms of strikeouts. If we do look at K rate last season against right-handed pitching, the Padres had the second highest strikeout rate in the league against righties, only behind the Tigers at 26.5%. Now, this is a dangerous lineup. This is a lineup that does have power. Guys like Tatis, Machado, Tommy Pham, Grisham all have power. I mean, Will Myers has some power as well. But there are a lot of strikeouts here. I think the only guys in this lineup with like a K rate under 20%, I think is, I can't exactly remember off the top of my head. I think Grisham against righties has a K rate below 20%, and I think maybe Josh Naylor is under 20%, but everyone else is above 20%. I think Tatis is reaching like 30% strikeout rate against righties. A lot of K upside here. Dustin May is a guy that has strikeout stuff, can get Ks. He's had two pretty tough matchups so far, or at least one tough matchup, I should say. You know, against San Fran, that's not a tough matchup, but against San Fran, he pitched 4 to third inning, allowed 7 hits, 1 run, got 4 strikeouts. He didn't look great that start. Had a tough spot against Houston. 3 and a third inning, allowed 3 hits, 1 run, just 3 strikeouts. I like this spot, though, for May to, potentially rack up some Ks. I think we're going to see his best start of the season. I mean, it's not hard to do that when your best game is 11 DraftKings points. I think there's legit 20, 25-point upside for May. I wouldn't be surprised to see him be, possibly one of the highest scoring pitchers on the slate. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes out there and just, mows down this team, racks up the strikeouts with how much this team does K against right-handed pitching. And a good thing is, even in a start where he kind of got blown up against Houston, he still pitched 76, or they still let him throw 76 pitches. So, if he's pitching well, I think 85, 90 pitches is easily on the table for Dustin May, maybe even more. Now that there's a DH for both the AL and the NL, the pitchers don't have to hit anymore. It's much more likely that he pitches deeper into the game because a lot of times you would see, after the 5th inning, Dustin May would come up to bat and then they would pinch hit for him just because they didn't want him hitting, that late in the game where he would have been, maybe he's thrown like 70 pitches after 5 innings and then he comes up to bat and he gets pinch hit for. That was something that was very frustrating, when rostering a pitcher in the NL. You're not going to have to worry about that this year. This year, you're just going to have to worry about guys getting getting pulled a little bit earlier than normal because of the short season, short rest, trying to save your guys for the playoffs. That's really all you got to worry about. I expect, though, 85 to 90 pitches from May today if he's pitching well. And at 7,500, I think there is a lot of upside for him at that salary when you factor in the really good strikeout matchup against a very K-heavy Padres team. But then if we're talking about value at pitcher, there's 2 value plays I like, both from the same game. So I think Caleb Smith and John Means are 2 viable, cheap options. If I had to choose one today, I think I would side with Caleb Smith. So Caleb Smith, he had great stuff last year. We saw some games where he would just go out there and mow down teams, rack up 9, 10, 11 strikeouts. There was points in the season where he was like 9K, 10K. We're getting him at a huge discount today at 6,600. He had a tough start, his first start against the Sixers, against the Phillies. Pitched 3 innings, allowed 1 run, 1 hit. So pretty much the only hit he allowed in those 3 innings was a home run. Did get 3 strikeouts, but he did allow 6 walks, which I think is a bit concerning. Finished with 6.6 DK points. He threw 70 pitches. He was kind of struggling, allowed a lot of walks, so maybe that was one of the reasons they pulled him after 70 pitches. I think he's going to, go probably 90 pitches today if he's pitching well. It's a really good matchup against the Orioles. The Orioles, are another team that strikes out a good amount against lefties. I do like Caleb Smith quite a bit at 6,600 as a value pitcher today. John Means on the other side gets a very favorable matchup against the Marlins. The Marlins did make some additions to their lineup. They added Jesus Aguilar. They added Corey Dickerson. They added Jonathan Villar. Those guys are solid hitters, but, those guys aren't guys I'm really going to be, I'm not going to fade pitchers against Miami because of those 3 hitters, especially VR against lefties. He's much better when he faces righties. Now, Jesus Aguilar has a lot of power. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if he takes Means deep here. But I still like John Means quite a bit at 6,400. But choosing between the 2, I do give the edge to Caleb Smith. I think Caleb Smith is just the better pitcher overall. Honestly, that Baltimore lineup is really weak. I think the Baltimore lineup, honestly, might be worse than the Miami lineup. Miami, though, they haven't played in over a week, so maybe they come into this game kind of cold since they haven't played in a while. Doesn't really matter. I like both pitchers in this game. I think this game could be somewhat low scoring. There's some bats you could target, and there's a batter that I do like that we'll talk about in a second from this game, but mainly going to be sticking to the pitchers here, Smith and Means, both as cheap options. Both guys I think are cheap on Yahoo as well. John Means is $28, so very cheap over there. Caleb Smith is, He's $32, so he's also very cheap. Two value guys you could definitely consider on Yahoo. But yeah, I think that we kind of touched on all the pitchers I have interest in today. If you want more in-depth analysis on the pitchers, I will have my article posted for this slate over on Patreon. I'll probably have it posted around 1 o'clock Eastern time, about 3 to 4 hours before lock, sometimes even earlier than that, 5 to 6 hours before lock. I usually just try and get it posted in the afternoon whenever I finish it. If you want to get access to my article, my updated core plays, my home run calls, all that will be down in the description, the Patreon. You can check that out. Also, you can get in our Discord chat, which I think a big boost for the Patreon. I think that's something that's very important to get into. I'm in there throughout the day to answer any questions you have, to talk through the slate with you guys. Definitely get in the Discord, check out the Patreon, see all that I have to offer over there. But let's go ahead and take a look at a couple bats that I like for tonight. So I know that I talked about John Means as being a viable cheap option, and I definitely think he is, but I'm not going to shy away from rostering a couple hitters against him. And I did mention Jesus Aguilar. This is a guy that does have a lot of power against left-handed pitching, and he is somewhat affordable on both sites. He's only $4K on Draftkings, and over on Yahoo, he is only $12. I do like him a lot as a value first baseman. He's only played 3 games this season. I think the Marlins have only played 3 games this season. Aguilar has been in the lineup every game. He's been really good through those 3 games. I mean, he's homered in 2 of those 3 games. Like I said, dude that has a ton of power, hits left-handed pitching very well. He does strike out a good amount, but John Means, not much of a strikeout pitcher, especially against righties. He did struggle to righties last season, allowed a 314 WOBA to them. K rate only at 17.6%, so really doesn't get strikeouts. Did allow 1.55 home runs per 9, so also, struggled in the power department, gave up a lot of homers to righties. I definitely like this spot for Jesus Aguilar. I think at $4K and $12 on Yahoo. I don't think I'm going to be full stacking the Marlins today, but I don't mind him at all as a one-off, or maybe, in a little 2-man mini stack or 3-man mini stack. Mainly just as a one-off, though. Jesus Aguilar as a cheap option. I do like quite a bit today against John Means. Means really struggled in his first start against the Yankees. Although this is a much better spot against the Marlins, he still struggled with the home runs. I think he did give up at least 1 home run in that first start, maybe 2. I can't remember. I'm going to check it real quick. Yeah, he gave up a home run in that first start against the Yankees. I think Aguilar is probably the best bet to take one deep off him out of anybody in this Marlins lineup. So I do like him a lot. And then now we'll talk about a team I'm looking to stack, a team I just want to get a lot of exposure to, and that is the Rockies for sure. So right now the Rockies have a 7.5 implied run total. They're expected to face Kevin Gausman. Kevin Gausman, not a pitcher that I think is bad by any means, but definitely not a pitcher I'm going to be afraid to stack against, especially when he's pitching in Coors Field. If we do take a look at his numbers, versus lefties and righties last season, he was pretty similar in terms of WOBA. Allowed a 329 WOBA to lefties, 333 to righties. If we look at the home runs, did allow more power to lefties, 1.57 home runs per 9, to lefties, 1.12 to righties. In terms of strikeouts, he does get more strikeouts against lefties. I think that has to do with his pitch mix. 28.6% to lefties, 22.4% to righties. Regardless, this is a good spot for the Rockies. Gausman, he hasn't looked that great so far this season. He's made 2 starts. 1 was in relief against the Dodgers. He pitched 4 innings, allowed 6 hits, 3 runs. Did give up a home run in that start. Only got 2 strikeouts. Looked much better in his last start against the Padres. Pitched 4 1/3 inning. Allowed 6 hits, but still allowed 3 runs. He got 8 strikeouts in that start, but still allowed 6 hits and 3 runs. There aren't a ton of strikeouts in this Rockies lineup, especially at the top, and there's a lot of power at the top of this lineup. So I think paying up for some of these guys, with a 7.5 implied run total makes a lot of sense. First, one of the guys that stands out quite a bit is Nolan Arenado. So he's honestly, been a little disappointing to start the season, but he really, he broke out of that slump on Monday night. He did have a home run on Monday night. I think before that, before Monday night's game, he was really in a bit of a funk. Only batting .226, 0 home runs, but, he got his first home run on the season Monday night. I wouldn't be surprised to see him take Gausman deep here. I know Gausman gave up more home runs to lefties than righties last season, but in Coors Field, that doesn't really, I'm not going to be, fading the righties just because of that. I still love the right-handed hitters here. Some of the best hitters in this Rockies lineup are right-handed, specifically Arenado and Story. So I like both those guys quite a bit as pay-up options. Nolan Arenado as a third base pay-up option, I like a ton here against Kevin Gausman. Definitely think he's one of the top overall plays on the slate in terms of bats. He's expensive, but, going with Heaney, May still leaves you a good amount of salary to work with. I mean, you go Heaney, May, Aguilar, Arenado, you still got $4,200 remaining per player, which you can easily work around. And we talked about Caleb Smith as a value pitcher. Like, you could plug Caleb Smith over, like, Dustin May, or take out Heaney and plug in Caleb Smith, and that's just going to free you up even more salary. So it's pretty easy to get a full Rocky stack in. Definitely a route I'm going to be taking. Love Arenado. David Dahl is another guy that I like at 5,100, projected to lead off. Now, he's expensive. His price has actually been kind of low the last few slates. He's been like 4,700, 4,800. They bumped him up over 5K, but that's not going to scare me off of David Dahl. This is a guy that has great numbers against right-handed pitching, specifically when he's at home in cores. His numbers against righties in cores are great, and, we talked about Kevin Gausman. Does struggle with lefties, did give up 1.57 home runs per 9 to lefties last season. Does get strikeouts against lefties, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him, pick up a couple Ks here against guys like maybe Dahl strikes out once, maybe Blackman strikes out once, but he does give up a lot of power. It's a great hitter's park. I mean, it's the best hitter's park in baseball. 7.5 implied run total. That should tell you all that you need to know. Love this spot for the Rockies. Love David Dahl. Love Arenado. Story's a great play. Blackman's a great play. They've been changing up their lineup a little bit. Sam Hilliard and Ramiro Tapia weren't in the lineup on Monday, even against a righty. They decided to go with Matt Kemp and Chris Owings. Just check that lineup. If you get Kemp in there again, he could be a good value. But even Tapia and Hilliard, if they're in the lineup, they're pretty cheap, 42 and 3,900. But obviously, the guys you really want to roster are like the 1 through 6, Dahl, Story, Blackman, Arenado, Murphy, McMahon. Those are the guys I have the most interest in from this Rockies team. And I think the Rockies, by far, my favorite stack on the slate. And it's honestly not even close. They just stick out head and shoulders above the rest, in my opinion. But that's kind of what I'm looking at in terms of the pitcher-player pool for today and just a couple of hitters. I know I didn't touch on all the hitters. I didn't go through each position. I like to do that over on Patreon. So if you do want to get a full position-by-position breakdown, you can check out my Patreon content. You can get access to my article where I give that full breakdown. You can also get in our Discord chat. You can get my updated core plays over on Patreon. Just so much stuff goes up over there throughout the day. I post these videos on YouTube the night before to give some of my early thoughts, but my updated thoughts are going up over on Patreon. So check that out, link down below. If you guys enjoyed this video, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. I do really appreciate it. Make sure you click that notification bell as well, so that way you never miss out on any of my new videos. You will get notified every time I upload. But yeah, guys, I think we covered everything. I forgot to mention stacks real quick. So obviously, Rockies my favorite stack on the slate by far. On the other side, the Giants have a 5.6 implied run total against Herman Marquez. I think Herman Marquez is a really good pitcher, though. The Giants don't have that good of a lineup. If I had to either stack the Giants or play Marquez today, I think I would rather play Marquez. So I don't really see myself going to the Giants today. I love the Rockies, though. I think some righties against Houston, or some righties from Houston makes a lot of sense here against Madison Bumgarner. Bumgarner, he's a popular name. You hear the name Madison Bumgarner, you think like elite pitcher. But that's just not the case anymore. Bumgarner's velocity is way down on his fastball. Like last game, he was throwing like 87, 88 miles per hour on the regular. And that's not going to work against guys like Springer, Altuve, Bregman, Gurriel, Correa. I do like the Astros quite a bit against Mad Bum. Obviously, love the Rockies. Some other teams we can maybe consider. I think some Braves against Matt Shoemaker make a lot of sense. I mean, I seem to always stack the Braves no matter who's pitching against them, unless it's like an elite pitcher. Just feel like their lineup is so good. They always put up runs, even against good pitchers. So really like the Braves. I think some Nationals against Steven Matz makes sense. I like guys with speed against Matz. Like Matz really struggles allowing stolen bases. So that makes someone like Trey Turner very interesting. Guys like Kendrick and Soto obviously have some good power. Soto's a great power hitter. The Nats lineup isn't very good. Once you get past like the 1 through 6, honestly, once you get past like the 1 through 4, like Asdrubal Cabrera, Starlin Castro, aren't great hitters. This lineup's just not as good as it used to be. But I still do like the top 4 guys: Turner, Eaton, Hendricks, Soto. I think doing like a 4-man stack makes plenty of sense there. Specifically like Trey Turner, I like quite a bit in this matchup, just because if he gets on base against Steven Matz, I mean, he should easily be able to steal second and third with how bad Matz is at holding runners. But yeah, I think we covered stacks. Like I said, guys, like the video, subscribe, check out the Patreon, give me a follow on Twitter, link down below. I think that's it, though. I hope you enjoyed. I really appreciate you watching, guys. We will see you in the next video. Peace.